Alright everybody, today I want to talk about whether Meta platforms will ever hit a market capitalization of 10 trillion US dollars. I recently posted that question or a similar question on my X feed. I asked people if they think if a company will ever hit a market cap of 10 trillion US dollars. Spoiler alert, of course, eventually one company will, but I guess the next follow-up question would be which company is most likely to hit that target first. And I think Meta is definitely a strong candidate, and in this video I'm going to outline why. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, in fact I recently, just today, published a blog post on this very topic, and I'm going to take a glance at my notes here, the blog post itself, to sort of structure my video a little bit. And what I will say before I start is that I'm usually not a big fan of big headlines. This stock is going to 10x over the next 3 years. This stock has 100x potential. If I look at the titles of some of my peers on YouTube, so finance content creators, investing content creators focused on stocks, I see that a lot. I feel like that's a bit because you won't find a 10x potential stock, a stock that is going to 10x over a relatively short time frame every day of the week. You're just making people false promises. Those opportunities are extremely rare, and if you find them, obviously you will also have to make sure you seize that opportunity quickly and with full force, meaning you make that stock idea a big position as well. So it really drives the overall performance of your portfolio forward. But that shouldn't be the point of this video. I guess the only reason why I bring that up is I think the title, I haven't really thought about how I'm going to title the video, but referring to Meta as a potential future $10 trillion company, I feel like that's a bit clickbaity. But I'm going to outline that I think that's a feasible scenario. That's all I want to express with the video. Obviously, the future is by its very definition uncertain. There are a lot of known and unknowns that Meta's business is going to face in the future, challenges, risks, and so on and so forth. So the path could be completely different, but I think there is a realistic chance that Meta will hit a 10 trillion market capitalization within the next 10 to 20 years. And let me explain why. I think there are 5 factors worth discussing here. And I guess before I take a look at the first factor itself, it's important to highlight where we stand today. So as of today, as of the time I'm recording this video in early December 2024, Meta is trading at a market capitalization of around 1.6 trillion US dollars, which means it would have to 6x, 6.5x strictly speaking, so the stock, to hit a market cap of 10 trillion US dollars. So I think the first factor to be aware of is that we are likely going to see a shift of what the major computing platform is over the next 5 to 10 years, I guess. And that next major computing platform is very likely going to be augmented reality. Zuckerberg himself recently highlighted that he thought the shift to AR is going to take longer, that we are probably going to have VR as sort of a transition period. But if you take a look at the Orion presentation that Meta gave a few weeks ago,
our first fully functioning prototype, and if I do say so, the most advanced glasses the world has ever seen. They're not a headset, no wires, less than 100 grams.
You sort of get a grasp of what the future very likely looks like. And I'm going to make the case that I think chances are that Meta is going to be a leading player in that category. I mean, Meta is probably the company that is most committed to playing a dominant role, to making sure it plays a dominant role in that space. They are allocating a lot of resources, a lot of manpower, billions of dollars every single year to that ambition. And I think the results start showing. Again, take a look at that Orion presentation. The one competitor I want you to point to would, for example, be Snapchat. I would encourage you to take a look at a video recently published by tech YouTuber Marcus Brown, in which he compared these two smart glasses, so Snapchat's smart glasses and Meta's smart glasses. And if you look at that video, I think your takeaway must be that as of today, Meta is far ahead of Snapchat. And no other real competitor comes to my mind right now. Obviously, Apple is likely going to play a role in that category as well, but they haven't really talked about it much. They haven't released a product. And so, yeah, it's up in the air what kind of role Apple is really going to play in AR. So clearly, that is going to be a new revenue stream for Meta itself, the hardware category. Just to give you some context here. So this chart here shows the free cash flow generated by both Apple and Meta. As you can see, over the last 12 months, Apple generated around 108 billion US dollars in free cash flow. And the majority of that comes from their iPhone segment. And again, to put into context how big of a player Apple is in the mobile phones category, surprisingly, Apple only has a market share, depending on which data set you look at, of around 20% in the smartphone or of the smartphone market, which is probably lower than most people anticipate. And I would argue that Meta very likely is not going to earn similar margins like Apple does in smartphones. So Meta obviously in AR, because they follow a fundamentally different philosophy. They follow an open source approach. They primarily want to own the platform, and they don't really want to squeeze out every possible dollar from every hardware sale. So chances are they are going to earn much slimmer margins you can probably see in phone makers that run the Android operating system. But nonetheless, it's going to be or represent a more meaningful part of Meta's overall revenue than it does today. Today, overall revenue is dominated by Meta's core business, advertising. But the more important point, I guess, is that owning the platform and no longer being dependent on other players that may limit your options, how you're going to advertise, for example, that itself is going to lead to more profits. And Zuckerberg himself has actually said exactly that during his recent acquired podcast appearance.
Mark,
Hey,
it's great to have you here.
it's great to be here.
In which he said that he thinks, and according to internal estimates, that Meta might be able to double its profitability if they own the next computing platform. I'm just going to show you a transcript from that interview on screen right now. So that was factor number 2. Then let's do some basic math. If Meta is going to be able to defend its current position in the advertising market, the advertising market itself, I feel like, is a sort of inflation hedge, because ad prices are going to grow in line pretty much with the inflation rate. So if we just assume that Meta can grow its free cash flow in line with the inflation rate, I was just assuming an inflation rate of 3.5% over the next 10 years, this will already lead to sort of a sizable increase of Meta's free cash flow. It will increase from 52 billion US dollars to 73 billion, roughly 73 billion by 2035. So that would be in 10 years. But I think that's way too conservative, because obviously there are other growth drivers that are going to lead to faster growth, likely, I don't know, of course, but likely faster growth over the next 10 years, faster than a 3.5% CAGR until 2035. And those factors are, for example, increased time spent on Meta platforms, apps, higher ad efficiency, which will also be driven by the AI progress that Meta is making day by day. Pricing power, of course. The overall shift to digital advertising. A growing user base. Of course, many of the user bases, especially on Facebook's Blue app, so Meta's Blue app, are quite saturated, but the other apps are still growing quickly. And then, of course, the monetization of WhatsApp, which is still in its infancy, and Threads, of course, as well, which Meta has recently highlighted they are going to start soon. So one calculation I did here is assuming, and those are more bullish scenarios now, assuming that Meta can actually grow its free cash flow at a rate of 15% over the next 10 years, well, then you would actually get to free cash flow generation of 210 billion in 2035, which is already meaningfully more than what Meta produces today, of course. Then, of course, the fourth factor to be aware of is AI and the various monetization options that come with that. So, first of all, you have to acknowledge that Meta is a leading player in the AI space as well. Again, they are committing heavy resources to have a dominant position in that area. And that is reflected by Meta's market share in LLMs, which was constant year over year if you compare 2023 and 24. Here, Meta sits at a market share of around 16%, so not a leading player. I should say not among the top two, so they are the third player here. And I'm not 100% sure when exactly that chart was released. I would have to double check if the month is revealed. But recently, Zuckerberg actually highlighted that Meta AI now has 600 million or close to 600 million monthly active users. And Meta AI is certainly growing very quickly. And I believe that Meta's success in AI is strongly tied to how successful they will be in AR. So Google, the other day, starting yesterday, I think, they were highlighting the progress they have been making with their quote-unquote project Astra, which basically highlights how AI can eventually be a personal assistant in your everyday life. And I'm just going to show you a couple of sequences from that Google presentation just now. And yeah, let me just show it to you real quick here.
I've got this email with apartment info. Can you tell me the door code and remember it?
I'll remember the door code for you. It is 1170. To unlock it, enter the code and then press the unlock button.
Based on these symbols, how should I wash this?
The tag shows to machine wash at 30 degrees Celsius. Avoid bleach and tumble drying. Iron on low and dry cleanable.
Then what settings should I use on this machine?
Based on the laundry instructions of 30 degrees Celsius, select the 30 setting under Easy Care on the dial.
So I think what we are seeing here is absolutely amazing, isn't it? However, my first reaction was, and that reaction was shared by others like Rihad Jark, who is known to be very bullish on Meta, my friend Andrew as well. I feel like your smartphone is not going to be the most intuitive device to have equipped with a personal AI assistant. What is probably going to be much more natural would be AR glasses, because you don't have to point the camera at a specific item. No, the AI is just going to see what you are seeing. You can just talk. You have free movements of your hands. So if anything, I feel like, and I'm pretty certain that chances are very high that we are going to see personal AI assistants. And I think they are going to be operating on AR glasses and not on a smartphone. I'm pretty certain about that prediction. And obviously, this will be beneficial for Meta, and it will give them a lot of options. Which options? We will see. But one option that comes to my mind right now is, imagine you would have a personal AI assistant who knows everything about you, who will make you much more productive throughout your day. How much would that be worth to you? $10 a month, $20 a month, $150 a month? I don't know, but I'm certain it will be very valuable to you. And I'm also certain that this is going to be an incredibly sticky product, which will make will have a lot of byproducts, positive byproducts for Meta. Like, for example, it will make their ads even more efficient. And then on top of that end consumer option, obviously there are also monetization options, commercial options in the B2B category. So Meta, I think, is already licensing some big enterprises that are using their Meta AI algorithms. And obviously that I think is going to be another driver of revenue and free cash flow going forward. To what extent remains to be seen, but certainly a couple of billions, which will get you closer to that 10 trillion market capitalization goal. And if you eventually end up with a high enough free cash flow generated by the business, you will at some point only have to put a certain multiple on that free cash flow, and that multiple may at some point be sort of realistic. You don't really have to stretch your assumptions to get to a $10 trillion market capitalization. So earlier I said, if we just take Meta's current business right now, assume a 15% compounded annual growth rate, you already get to 210 billion free cash flow by 2035. I was doing some more math here on my blog. So I was assuming if you then compound that 210 figure at a rate of 10% for another 5 years, so then we would arrive in 2040, you would get to 270 billion in free cash flow generated by Matter, which would then, quote unquote, only require a 40 times multiple to get to a 10 trillion market capitalization. But who knows, maybe all of the other categories, the endeavors I was highlighting here, hardware, AI assistance, commercializing AI in the B2B space, maybe all of that will lead to a much higher free cash flow in 2040 anyway. And then you wouldn't even require a higher multiple. Yeah, I guess that's it. Let me know what you think of my thoughts here, where you disagree with me, maybe more importantly. Theo Birkern, who I really, as you might realize if you watch my videos regularly, whose tweets I really consume a lot because I learn a lot from him myself. He highlighted below my tweet in which I shared similar thoughts that, of course, you also have to be aware of the risk, and I 100% agree with him. So maybe I will also do a video in which I highlight how Matter can be a zero, I guess. Okay, that's it. Take care. Talk soon.